And good morning to you. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take for Market Rebellion. And once again, we had a great start yesterday to the markets in terms of the pre-market, a big spike that actually transcended into the trading day. And what a day we had yesterday. As a matter of fact, S&P inching closer and closer to new highs. But in the meantime, a really nice spike when you look over at the Dow, and it's up over that 28,000 level or thereabouts and trading right in that range. And it was Apple, it was Microsoft, it was Intel on the tech side of things. You also had Merck and J&J and Pfizer and United Health. Healthcare names definitely stood out yesterday. And then you look over at the NASDAQ, and we've talked about these dislocations that have been happening more and more. Well, yesterday, no dislocation whatsoever. NASDAQ was off to the races and sprinting to the upside once again, getting back up and over that 11,000 level. Just a big, huge, massive move once again, led by Tesla. Everybody talking about that 5-for-1 split. Whether or not that has anything to do with the actual where the stock should be going directionally, a lot of people, the interpretation does become, well, it's a little bit easier for those that want to be able to participate in some of these names. And we talk about this all the time. We saw some of the same type of reaction going on with Apple, not quite to the same degree as we are seeing in Tesla. But then again, when you take a look at Tesla and the run that that's had and how the short span of this run from where it was back in January all the way to those highs towards that 1800 number and then pulling back a little bit. But this 5-for-1 split, a lot of people just talking about it, a lot of folks wanting to be a part of what's going on with Tesla because they feel like they know something. And whether they do or not, that's interesting way to look at things. But it does create a little bit more opportunity for folks that look at it and say, well, you know, when it was at this price, I could only get this many shares. I like to get at least this many shares. That's sort of the mentality that we're talking about here. Anyway, all that being said, yes, the NASDAQ was definitely strong and Tesla was the leader, but you also had Facebook, you had Netflix, Amazon, Google. You get the idea. Pretty nice day overall. Semiconductors, some were working really well yesterday. There's been an interesting dichotomy of what's been going on within the semiconductors each and every day. And then when you look at the SMH, you start to wonder, is this going to be a day where it's higher or lower? I'll get into that in a second in terms of today. But yesterday, nice, big, powerful move. We're talking about stocks that were up over 5% or more. And we're looking at AMD and Qualcomm and NVIDIA. Just a very nice, powerful day from some of the big market cap type names in the semiconductor space. So the SMH did finish up about 3% yesterday on the back of some of those big moves. Now, some of the other names that were moving that are the smaller names, obviously, but still moving to the upsides. You had Skyworks, ASML. You had names like KLAC, Tencor, those types of names also participating very, very nicely. Sprinkle in a little bit of biotech, and you can understand why you look over at the NASDAQ and you see that big, powerful move that the NASDAQ did have yesterday. Now, you look over at some of the other areas in the commodity space, you look at crude, 42.60, that was up a little bit yesterday. Gold kind of flat, maybe down a little bit. Silver also down, maybe call it 2%. But we had some nice participation in the crude side of things. ConocoPhillips, Marathon, Pioneer, some of those next level names really reacting very, very well yesterday, powering some of those various indices as well. So volatility index right around that 22 level. Volumes. Now, the volumes did pull back a little bit, but these are still significant numbers. We've been pretty excited about these 30+ million volume days. Yesterday, still over 27 million. So volume is there supporting what we are seeing in the markets right now. And it's been incredible. And as we talk about, well, with the pandemic and everything else and all of so much work from home, a lot of folks not only working from home, but that actually saves that time for driving to get out early and all the rest of it. So summertime, we are seeing volumes like we've not seen in summertime months in a very long, if ever, probably never have seen these kind of volumes. Now, real quickly with some of those casino stocks as well. So you look at Penn, you look at DraftKings and some of the jumping that we'd seen right there, but Penn really has been one of these names that has been absolutely skyrocketing to the upside. I'm going to get into that again when we talk about what's going on today because there's even more action for Penn today. The interesting part about yesterday, however, was the financials. Now, the financials were participating, and we've talked about how many days can they put together back-to-back days? Can the financials really start to push to the upside? Well, they had, and they'd been moving to the upside. We talked about the XLF getting up and above that 25 level, but it did pull back fairly significantly during the day, and that was something that I don't know that I'd call it concerning, but something where we're going to definitely be watching the financials over the next couple of trading sessions to see Is this something that's going to be able to hold, or are they going to start to break back down once again? And obviously, we'll keep a really close eye on that. So, what's the news of the day? Well, in the pre-markets, we heard about the new unemployment claims. We actually were under a million. The estimates were for about 1.1 million. We were well under that number, underneath a million. And that was influencing the markets. The markets immediately started to shift. They were down, not significantly, but they were down in the pre-market, got up towards flat off of that. And then as soon as the stock market opened, we saw a big push to the downside. That push, a lot of that push in terms of the Dow coming from Cisco. Now, Cisco having just an absolutely awful day. They had earnings and some of the projections going forward and all the rest of it. The interpretation was stock's down about 10%. Now, that's a pretty significant move off the earnings for Cisco. That was was the biggest drag that we were seeing on the Dow. So that's something I think that you have to look at that, and that's why we oftentimes would prefer to look at the S&P 500, sometimes maybe even the NASDAQ, but obviously some of those bigger indices to get a better sense of something other than just the Dow 30. But big influence there. Stock market was down significantly in terms of down over 100 points on the Dow. NASDAQ early on actually fighting that pretty nicely. It was up over 50 points. And right now I'm just taking a quick look. It's up about 40 points. The Dow's recovered a little bit. We got all the way back to flat. Here we are again down about 55 points. So certainly that Cisco influence is pulling on the markets. Can the rest of the names start to pull forward and push that back up towards some of those levels and get the market, the Dow back up over that 28,000 level? That's something a lot of people will be watching as well. Energy and industrials. So they've been dragging a little bit too, at least this morning. So Exxon and Caterpillar and Raytheon and Dow not getting killed to the downside, but definitely if all those are going negative, and we're talking about a 30 stock Dow, that's going to pull things down a little bit with the exception of a couple. So you had Boeing and 3M actually on the positive side. So interesting to see some of that movement within some of those various sectors and how they shift around. Leading and looking pretty positive, however, was Apple, was Microsoft. So you understand how tech is really working right now while we're looking over at some of the other names that are maybe dragging on the markets at least a little bit. So what's really working in the NASDAQ? Talk about the NASDAQ being up about 0.4%. Zoom, Tesla, Adobe, Nvidia, PayPal, Facebook. I already mentioned names like Apple and Microsoft, so you get the idea. A pretty nice move there, and the broad move in the SMH. Talk about these chips all the time, and I said we'd revisit this. So today you got Broadcom, you've got Qualcomm, you've got Texas Instruments, you've got Applied Materials. So you've got a nice swath of a variety of different aspects of what's underneath the hood when you're looking at the semiconductors, and those names definitely helping out the NASDAQ for sure right now. So that's something. I mentioned Penn Gaming earlier. Now, the reason I bring that up, Penn National, I bring that up because today, an analyst came out today and initiated coverage with a 60 price target. Now, let's just wind back just a little bit because we have had some positive paper in here for a while now. And I took a quick look back. July 17th, I'm looking at August 50 calls. The stock was trading 33.50. The stock today is trading 53.50. So I give you a little bit of an idea. But stock trading 33.50, they were buying the August 50 calls. That's why we love this world of leverage and an opportunity to buy something and you just don't know. Now, obviously, something like a Cisco today burned it up. They are some positive option buying into that, going into the number. The number itself was pretty good, but some of the projections not so good. Stock gets hit to the downside, and obviously those options will expire worthless. But when you've got names like Penn National coming through, those numbers do definitely shift off of one another. And if you've got a big hit like what we're seeing right now for Penn, you can understand why the excitement is always there. Even though there's going to be some disappointments, there's still that level of excitement that's so great. So, unusual option activity for today. I was just about to come in here and give you something a little bit different. By the way, we are 45 minutes into the trading day. Dow's down 40. NASDAQ's up now 60. And volatility just dipped under 22. Pure Storage. I don't know. You probably have heard the name, but you've probably never thought about it from the stock market perspective. Pure Storage, PSTG. Stock trading around $17 a share. They're buyers of 11,500 of the September 20 calls. between 40 and 60 cents. That's what those options are going for. Now, what would be a catalyst between now and September? Well, certainly if you take a look and you see the earnings are August 25th, that definitely would be one of the catalysts. So that could be potentially what this buying expectation is based upon. Doesn't mean it is. You never really know all the details that you'd like to know, but that certainly was interesting and unusual. I hadn't seen this name in what seems like forever, Pure Storage, and the fact that it's a very large trade, the 11,000 calls, 11,500 of these September 20s, that's a pretty significant, nice bite to see. And so that all stood out for me and unusual because of the fact that we just haven't seen this name a whole heck of a lot in the past. We have seen it, but not a lot in the past. Folks, knowledge is king. You've got to understand those markets. I'll tell you the other thing. I wear a variety of shirts and hats and all these kinds of things. This one's the Take. The great people over at the Minnesotan, and it is the Minnesotan, and you can easily find it, theminnesotan.com. They've got a lot of great, incredible items, and the items that are qualified as Giddy Up, the Take, there are bulls, all that kind of thing. There's hats, there's golf shirts, there's t-shirts. They have all kinds of different accessories as well. But go to that site and check it out. And the reason I bring that up is it's getting a little bit closer, so I thought I had to bring this up. September 12th, we've got our Lime, what was normally our gala. It would have been our third. It will still happen, but it's going to happen virtually. So I'm throwing that out there because these great people over at the Minnesotan, if you buy anything that has anything to do with the Bull or the Giddy Up or the Take, a portion of that is going to go to Twin Cities Lime, which we are very thankful for that. And, you know, it helps in diagnosis, folks that think they might have something. And Twin Cities Lime Foundation is the foundation my wife started a few years ago. As a matter of fact, she went 16 years undiagnosed with Lyme. She was told she had just about everything, including it was in her head. But truth be told, turned out to be Lyme disease and co-infections that go along with that. So I just bring that up to you because September 12th is going to be that gala. It's going to be a 1 hour. We got a lot of entertainment, a lot of great live auction items, and it should be a lot of fun. I'd like you to just put that down on your calendar as well. That would be fantastic. And if you want to go to the Minnesotan, check it out, theminnesotan.com, and any of that stuff. Then they give a portion of that to the Lime Foundation, which is really, really generous and wonderful of them as well. Folks, have a great day of trading. I'm not on the halftime report, but I will be on there on Friday, so I'll look forward to seeing you. But I got the Take Friday morning before that. Folks, have a great day of trading.